Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Chip Over the Top Rugby podcast. My name is Ryan. If you are new here, welcome. And if you've been here before, you know the score. Welcome back. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you are new here. And as I so rightly predicted, right on time, if you saw my video that just went up a couple hours ago, lucky you, you are getting another one today. 2 for 1, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, it's not 2 for 1 because it is 2 separate videos, but in one day is what I was referring to. And as I predicted, well, I knew it was going to happen. Actually, Warren Gatland has announced his Wales squad to take on Argentina this Saturday in the first of 4 quarterfinals this weekend taking place. I was kind of surprised that they didn't spread it out over 2 weekends to make it even more of a grand spectacle. But obviously we are in the business end now and we are well on our way to the final that is taking place at the end of this month. So without further ado, let's dive into the squad, the starting 15 and then obviously the replacements. Some interesting decisions and calls that were made. I obviously didn't have time, if you watched the previous video, to make a prediction of a squad, but no surprises really. He has stuck with his guns for the most of it. Couple surprises in my opinion throughout the 23, but let's dive in. So starting with let me just undo this button because things are getting hot. I'm just kidding, they're not. Just comfortable. Starting with the front row. No changes really, no surprises here. He's gone with his most favourable front row thus far in the World Cup. We have Gareth Thomas, Ryan Elias and Thomas Francis. In the second row, obviously Will Rowlands remains. Adam Beard coming back into the squad. I was a little bit shocked by that, but we'll touch upon that. And then in the back row, this is where things get interesting, obviously, with the ruling out of Faletau with that broken arm. Unfortunately, he has had to make some tough calls. If you didn't know, Kieran Hardy was obviously brought into the squad in replacement of Faletau. But he has gone with 2 specialist 7s. Jack Morgan switches to blindside and will captain the squad. And then Tommy Raphael comes in at 7 with Aaron Wainwright, who has played 6 for most of the tournament, but also did feature at 8 in the World Cup warm-up games and did very well while he was there, has gone in to replace Faletau on at number 8. So interesting call. I am personally liking it. I do like it when the international teams and teams in general have 2 specialist 7s. But Jack does remind me of a blindside flanker. He's obviously not as big and as physical as some out there, but that man is a tackle machine. And then obviously with Raphael over the breakdown quick, it's going to be interesting to watch. And I'm looking forward to that personally. So moving from the forwards now into the backs. Obviously bringing in Kieran Hardy, you didn't expect him to feature really in this game. It was probably more for just repetitions in the training ground. And then if any issues come up during this game, obviously then we have scrum half cover for the semi-finals if we make it to the semi-finals. So Gareth Davis starts at 9. Dan Biggar back in the squad at 10. Josh Adams retains his place on the wing. I say he retains his place, comes back in instead of Rio Dyer, and then he's gone with the partnership of the tournament, really, in my opinion. Nick Tompkins and George North have just played outstandingly well together, and hopefully that will continue this weekend. Lewis Rees-Zammit getting his hat-trick on the weekend against Georgia, retains his place on the wing, and then Liam Williams, even though he was on crutches, it was just precautionary, is back in at 15. And that is the starting 15. Quite excited by it. No Anscombe in the starting 10, or as we move into the bench now, in the bench. So Beard obviously back in, Wainwright to 8. And then we have some interesting calls on the bench. So let's take a look at the replacements. Dewi Lake, no Elliot D. So Dewi Lake comes back in. I think he did enough and was justified in the game against Georgia to kind of put himself up for contention here. And obviously coming off the bench, he's going to be a nice physical ball carrier in the second half or whenever we need him to come on. Corey Domachowski, no surprises there. He's been probably Gatland's favourite loosehead that comes on. And then interestingly, he's gone with Dylan Lewis instead of Henry Thomas. Not entirely sure what that call is for. I thought Henry Thomas did decent. And I think I prefer Henry Thomas over Dylan Lewis anyway, just from a scrummaging standpoint and just being around the park, but interesting selection. So Dav Jenkins was starting alongside Will Rowlands against Georgia. Will come off the bench. Chris Chizunza, which will be another lock cover, but also probably the back row cover here. Interestingly, no Basham, not entirely sure why that is, but that does show that he is now starting to trust Chris Chizunza going forward, potentially, and that is another line-out option as well. And then in the backs for the replacements, we have Thomas Williams, Sam Costello, who did mightily fine against Georgia, and I think rightly so. Probably does deserve to retain his spot. Obviously, there's something with Anscombe. I did watch the press conference, and he did say that Gareth Anscombe is back up and running, but I'm guessing with it being such a close turnaround, they want to give him another opportunity to just rest, recover, and give Costello that shot off the bench. Will that mean then that Gareth Anscombe is straight into the 23 squad if he's back and we make it to the semi-finals? Time will tell. And then rounding off the replacements, Rio Dyer, I think did mightily fine against Georgia, chased everything down and was just an animal across the park. So interestingly, no sort of Mason Grady, Johnny Williams featuring here, which I guess is understandable. This is now the knockout stages of the Rugby World Cup, and we want to field our most consistent starting 23 and 15. So yeah, let me know your thoughts below on that squad. I'm looking forward to it. Again, I think the interesting call with Dewi Lake instead of Elliot D. But I think Dewi Lake did do enough in the Georgia game to kind of put his hands up. And again, that physicality coming off the bench. I personally would have preferred Henry Thomas over Dylan Lewis, but I'm not the coach. Obviously, he sees something in training maybe this week, or Henry Thomas has picked up a niggle. Time will tell. No Basham, as I mentioned. I do like Tane Basham. He's very physical. But again, it's probably due to the line-out option now with Faletau not being in there, having Chizunza come in and do that. And then obviously he has enough trust in Sam Costello to come off the bench and do a job if needed, instead of Dan Biggar or Gareth Anscombe. So let me know your thoughts. That is the Wales squad to take on Argentina this weekend, kicking off for me at 11 a.m. For you, obviously slightly different because you are back home in Wales and in the UK, whereas I am here in Maryland in the USA. If you didn't know, that is where I live and have done now for the past 5 years. Knockout rugby, baby. Wales v Argentina this weekend. Quarterfinal number 1. Obviously, there's 4 in the quarterfinals. Obviously, if you can do math and fractions, you are good to go. Let me know your thoughts. Like this video for more content. Subscribe for more content. Diolch yn fawr. I'll catch you all very, very soon.